Today's word is examine, and according to semi-apocryphal wise old dude Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living, so by extension then, the unexamined game must not be worth playing. I don't think I'd go quite that far, but I will say that it is useful to examine the games that you play and the games that you enjoy, and to try and figure out how they work exactly. What it is that makes them enjoyable, and not just the game, but the session, or the group, or the convention, or whatever it is, and thereby to try and emphasize the things that work, the things that are good, the things that make it enjoyable, and to de-emphasize the things that don't. Comedy, for example, is a really, really hard thing to do in games. Puns are easy, and I'm partial to puns, but I don't know that they quite rise to the level of comedy. Paranoia is probably the model for a successful comedy game. And if we look at Paranoia, we find that it's actually, in conventional play, very tightly structured. But that's what makes it work. The expectation of the comedy of errors to come, the relative incompetence of the troubleshooters, the experimental gear that you know you want to try, but you also know will go spectacularly wrong in some way, the surprises, the intra-party conflict that's made part of the fun. So you can take those elements that work and you can apply them in some other way. My game Invaders, which is also kind of an homage to Destroy All Humans and Invader Zim and a whole bunch of other stuff, takes a lot of its structure from Paranoia. There are missions, so you know what you're doing. The thing in charge, in this case the Emperor of the Jerkian Empire, is a stupid comedic figure in the same way that Friend Computer is, but also sinister. There's intra-party conflict as people vie for rank. There are all kinds of alien devices and so on, which don't necessarily work in the way that they're supposed to. And the aliens themselves are fairly diminutive and weak as individuals. So the comedy is all set up there. It's formulaic, has many of the same story beats as a typical session of Paranoia, and so on. So look at the games that you're playing, understand which aspects of combat or the rules or whatever else works. When it comes to other factors, they can be somewhat ineffable. Sometimes you're just in the zone as a games master, or your group is in the zone as a whole, kind of riffing off each other, and that's not something you can necessarily replicate, but you can increase the chances of it happening if you can identify the factors that make it happen. Are people well rested? Are they slightly drunk? Are they slightly stoned? Have they eaten enough? And is it, decent food, or is it junk food? Is it a weekend of indulgence and playing games? What is it? And once you identify those things, you can make them happen more often, and you can increase the chance, not 100%, but you can increase the chance of having a really good session. So examine your games, examine your group, examine yourself, examine the factors around the game, examine the rules, examine everything, and try and figure out what works. But don't do it while you're playing, because it will interrupt and spoil those moments of zen.